Managers of the Achimota bus terminal are appealing for the appropriate state agencies to act to save the facility from turning into a white elephant. Lack of patronage of the 4.5 million cedis terminal has meant that many of the commercial drivers there would rather stay on the main Accra-Nsom highway to pick passengers, who also say the siting of the terminal is not convenient. Commissioned in December 2009, the terminal was to ease congestion on the Accra-Nsom highway. Nancy Emefajradozi visited the terminal in our reports.
It is 2 p.m. at the Achimota bus terminal, and the day is quite slow. I could count less than 100 buses at the once busy modern station. This Sprinter bus has been waiting for passengers for over an hour. Passengers are uneasy. They complain that boarding vehicles at the terminal is time-wasting, making them late to their destinations.
Maybe you're in a hurry and you board the bus, and sometimes the passengers didn't come, and it's a little bit frustrating.
How long do you have to wait often?
Okay, at times more than an hour.
Okay, the biggest frustration is you have to wait for some hours, some time. Even after the hour, no passengers are coming. You have to get, especially Kaneshika, you have to get and walk to the overhead before you can get a car and go to wherever you are going, because passengers are not coming here.
Achimota GPRTU chairman Ben Antibuaing says the situation is so because some drivers pick and drop off passengers on the shoulders of the roads, despite several efforts to compel them to use the bus terminal.
We came here with 1,600 buses, and now we have left with 200 buses.
Why? Why are they leaving?
All the drivers have gone back to the street. They are working on the street. As we are speaking, when you pass on the NY, on the La Paz Road, at the other side of the Assemble, you see that a whole lot of vehicles have parked at the highway, on the motorway. You see that a whole lot of vehicles have parked there. And they are loading to places like Tema, Ashama, 37, Nima, Medina, and a whole lot of places. Instead of them to come here and board vehicles here, they are not coming. We've done all that we could, and yet still, nothing better have come out of it.
A driver, Justice Boabing, is waiting for passengers to board the second trip for the day. He admits that he has considered joining his mates on the street.
I have my name is no. Free station because she may hear me tell us the cost and cost be free. Or she says no. Passengers name your friend Justice Boabing.
With passengers also standing by the roadside, ready to jump into vehicles, Mr. Edu says he earns very little in a day, making life very difficult for him.
Somebody has given you a car to run it so that you come and make the sales, and then you come here in the morning, you wake up around 4 o'clock and you come and say, look, when you go to the other side, you see the drivers are sleeping there. No passengers. It's so terrible for the station here. So only by grace, that's why we are here. If all of us will park here will become empty. That's why I'm saying that in the morning, from which station, Joy, I'll write a football match between Joy, so that we'll come here in the morning, we'll come and play football. You see that the terminal is so open. We can put the ball pole to pole, we'll pray. It's so terrible.
Many drivers like Mr. Edu spend more than half of the time sleeping and chatting instead of making money. The worried chairman, Ben Antibuahin, says several complaints to city authorities and transport committee to help clamp down on vehicles illegally parking and picking up passengers by the roads has fallen on deaf ears.
We met with the AMA, the mayor of Accra, and we had a lot of discussion with him, and he told us to form a task force which complies the AMA, the police, and we as transport organization. And lo and behold, with the task force, nothing better have come out of it. We met with parliamentary selection committee, and they told us to write a letter to them. And we wrote a letter to them during NDC regime. And as we are speaking now, we've not heard anything from them. We've met with Minister for Transport. Nothing good came out of that place. We met with the mayor. Nothing good came out of that place.
Until the police and authorities step in to salvage the situation, these buses may just start packing.
The director of the Kolebu Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burn Center, Dr. Opoku-Ware Ampoma, says doctors are working to correct the eyesight of a mobile money merchant who suffered an acid attack by suspected robbers at Kaswa in the central region. Speaking with JoyNews, when members of the mobile money advocacy group made a cash donation towards the upkeep of the victim, Dr. Ampoma expressed worry about how readily acid is available on the open market. We will bring you that story a lot later. But you're still watching JoyNews Prime here on the JoyNews channel on Multi TV. We're taking a break. We'll bring you more stories thereafter. Stay tuned in. We're returning to earlier story where the director of the Kolebu Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burn Center, Dr. Opoku-Ware Ampoma, says doctors are working to correct the eyesight of a mobile money merchant who suffered an acid attack by suspected robbers at Kaswa in the central region. Speaking with JoyNews, when members of the mobile money advocacy group made a cash donation towards the upkeep of the victim, Dr. Ampoma expressed worry about how readily acid is available on the open market.
One of the main areas of concern is a vision, because this acid got into contact with her eyes, and so already she's having some blurring of her vision. So our eye doctors are treating her for that, and we are also treating the burns to the face and the chest. She's been here for about 18 days now, and we are looking forward to taking her to the theater to provide skin grafts or to her chest. The wounds on the chest are quite deep and wouldn't heal well if we leave them alone. So we have to go and take some skin from another part of her body and then bring it to cover the chest wound so that it will heal. And so this, as you can see, she's undergone quite a lot, and she needs all the support she can get, because treatment for burns is very, very expensive. So we are very grateful to the mobile money group for this wonderful gesture and this show of support, and we trust that they will continue to support our sister both financially and emotionally, because this is something that's quite traumatic. You can imagine that somebody who's had a normal appearance and having this injury, because the thing is that no amount of plastic surgery would ever restore you to your original state. You still have some scarring as a result, and we think that these are issues that can be best prevented by making sure that chemicals are not just allowed to be handled by just anybody. If you have 5 Ghana cedis and you go to the Kaneshi market or any of their markets, you can easily get acid to buy. And many people tend to misuse some of these chemical agents. So we are praying for our lawmakers and those law enforcers to make sure that we really enforce the laws, the rules and regulations, so that access to dangerous chemicals is restricted as much as possible. I think that's one of the best ways that we can prevent things like this from happening. And then when people have engaged in that activity, the law must come down on them swift and hard, so that
many mobile money merchants have suffered attacks at the hands of robbers, with some of them losing lives altogether. Members of the mobile money advocacy group say they have advised their members not to fight back when they are attacked, especially by armed robbers. General Secretary Michael Asante says members put their lives at risk when they decide to take on the robbers.
Because normally the amounts they take away with is not worth the life they try to, and we want to encourage the vendors. If there's a robbery case, you shouldn't fight too hard, because sometimes they might hurt you or kill you. and there is no amount that is worth your life. You see. So let's put in the security measures that we keep educating them as an association, and let's be cautious of who we deal with in terms of our business, so that we don't encourage them the more. Don't fight too hard. But it's important to be on the preventive side. Take in the security measures that MOMAG has been educated.
The Chamber of Telecommunications, meanwhile, says it is working with the police on a number of initiatives to ensure mobile money merchants feel more secured. Chief Executive KNUST says the Chamber, in the interim, will continue to educate the agents on safe practices that will make them less vulnerable.
You see, the issue of mobile money and attacks on vendors, it's a security issue. It has nothing to really do with the technology. It's the fact that these criminals are finding those places to be easy targets, and so because there's money in there, they go in there and they attack them. We've seen attacks, you know, on, I think very recently there was a bank that was attacked. We've seen attacks on filling stations and all of that. So for us as an industry, one of the things that we were doing, working together with the regulator, Bank of Ghana, is that one, we've started an agency registry where we're registering, ensuring that all the agencies, the mobile money agents are properly registered, their geographical locations are known. So we're doing a lot of education on the agents themselves, because part of it is also because of the way they handle themselves. Locations are known. So we're doing a lot of education on the agents themselves, because part of it is also because of the way they handle themselves. How are their setups like? Where are they set up? And then we are also encouraging them to say that don't work late in the evening, you know, but by a particular time, stop what you're doing. We're working with other partners to introduce other channels, so that if it is late in the evening, you know, you can go to an ATM, you can go to a bank, whatever services that it is that you're doing. We're working with them to also ensure that they don't keep too much cash, you know, on themselves, so that they don't then become targets. There are conversations of looking into the possibilities of getting insurance schemes for all of them, so that when you are attacked, you know, you can give the money out, because you know there's some insurance at the back. We're working with the police as well to ensure that we can put schemes, proper schemes in place that would ensure that these, you know, people are protected. Definitely, as an industry, we believe that it's one thing that we really need to deal with it, but it's also because as the mobile money phenomenon, the way it's been structured, it's not supposed to be for money transfer per se, where people, you know, go and take big cash, you know, and it's supposed to be a payments medium. So in the long term, one of the things that we're working with, and based on the Vice President's call of saying that we want to move, you know, all people to government payments to be done electronically, would push and get to the point where we use mobile money more.
Now, students of the Ghana Senior High School, GHANASCO, are appealing for police protection following an attack by some youth of Kukuo on the school. The youth pelted stones into the school compound in protest of the construction of a fence wall put up by the school to stop encroachment and indiscipline. There has been tension between the community and the school over a passage they use as a thoroughfare. The school earlier this month held a endeavor to dialogue with the community to resolve the matter, but that has not helped. Martina Bogri has more.
The incident happened last night when the youth pulled down a section of the wall and threatened to collapse the entire wall. The residents of Kuko had turned the school compound into a defecating ground. There has also been reported case of petty thievery in the school, forcing the school to construct a fence wall to protect the students and the land of the school. A female student, Amadou Zule, has said they are worried that there could be a second attack and call for police protection.
The school made the contractor to come and fence the space, the wall, the space they left for the people to pass. After they finished their went, the school came and gave us warning that no one should scale the wall. So within some time, there was one man who went to that side and took one of the wall. So our boys went out and the people were throwing them. they called the police from the primary headquarters, and they came in, did some things, and they left. After that, last night around 8 o'clock, at bed, we were at bed when the people started again. They came and broke down the walls, and they started throwing our boys stones. And in this case, we also feel we are in danger, because anytime we are informed three. When they come, they can easily come. We always sit around the trees to learn. So we do TV. So when there's no one to save us, when they always come, they are always with harmful brains. We think government should intervene, because they should find security personnel to come around, survey around in the evening, to protect us, because we don't know what the people might do to us. So we are pleading with the government to come to our aid.
Another student, Sandu Lawrence, also called for a dialogue between opinion leaders of the Kukuo Township and the school.
Also, they shit inside the campus by upon all that. I mean, she was also finding a means to do away with all this. And fortunately, on the part of that she find a man who wanted to jump over the campus here and shoot yesterday. So that makes her annoyed, and she said that if that be the case, we should block all the ways that we can pass through and enter the campus and do all this. That was the reason why they should let us have some collaboration with the community people, and also how the chief of Kuku should have something to tell about his members so that we can avoid all this.
Now, Ghana has lost its #1 spot on the press freedom rankings in Africa. The latest 2019 World Press Freedom Index report shows the country dropped from its 27th global position to 24. The decline has been attributed to the assassination of investigative journalist Ahmed Swaleh and brutalities against media practitioners. Here is a News Desk report.
According to the 2019 World Press Freedom Ranking, Ghana lost its status as Africa's best-ranked country in the World Press Freedom Index. The report, prepared by Reporters Without Borders, attributed this decline to a situation where a group of investigative journalists had to spend part of 2018 in hiding after producing a documentary about Ghanaian soccer corruption. It added a ruling party parliamentarian who had been named in the documentary publicly threatened one of the journalists without ever being sanctioned. The death of investigative journalist Ahmed Swaleh dealt a major blow to the country's enviable record. The report said journalists are rarely arrested, but several were attacked with impunity in 2018, in some cases by police officers. Although Ghana continues to be seen as one of the most democratic countries in Africa, and Chapter 12 of its 1992 Constitution guarantees media pluralism and independence, a third of the media are owned by the state or by businessmen linked to the government. Ghana's worst performance was in 2013 when it ranked 30, and its best was in 2015, ranking 22. Namibia topped the African League at 23, with Norway ranking first worldwide, while Turkmenistan sat at the bottom at 180.
We can now speak with President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Afil Moni. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us, Mr. Moni. Now, are you surprised that Ghana has lost its spot as Africa's top-ranked country on press freedom?
Not at all. The writing had boldly been on the wall. So our drop by 4 steps is a pesky consequence of certain antecedents, attacks against journalists within. The headline was being the tragic death of Ahmed Swaleh around his own home. And we expect the officialdom and the security apparatus to speed up investigations, but what we are seeing is not satisfactory. And we also expect punishment appropriate punishment to be meted out to people who attack journalists with impunity. We are yet to see evidence of that. And once impunity is not checked or punished, it ignites their propelling and re-energizing cycle, which then becomes very difficult, if not impossible, to uproot. So we have a challenge to fight impunity on all fronts, in all its manifestations. And also, as media practitioners, we also need to take steps to shape our performance, our practice in such a way as to not fall easy prey to enemies of press freedom. So it's a wake-up call to all of us. We need, as the nation, to collectively do what's expected of us in terms of extending better cover protection to journalists so that they be emboldened, empowered to do more in terms of their watchdog role, holding to account people in positions of power and authority, and exposing dark spots. We know the relationship between media freedom and democracy is ingrained in theory, actually, and rooted in practice. That democracy is impossible without media freedom. So if our democracy is shining, democracy is a reference point and standard measure for so many countries. It's because the media have brought us this far. So an attack against the media is an attack against our democracy. An attack against our democracy is an attack against the very soul of this nation. So as you speak, the soul of this nation is bleeding profusely from such attacks. And the only way to stanch the blood flow is to punish, deal surgically with the perpetrators of impunity against media practitioners.
Now, Mr. Moni, how confident are you that we can actually get to deal with the issues the way you're saying we should deal with it? Because it doesn't really lie in your hands to get to fight the impunity. It's the authorities that are allowing or will permit these attacks on journalists. What can be done to actually ensure that this ends, these attacks end?
In a dispensation rule of law, we can't take the law into our hands. We expect the various arms of government to do their bit. For instance, ours is to raise the issues, to make the loudest noise about such issues, and expect the various arms of government to take them up. But there seems to be light flickering at the end of the tunnel relative to the interdiction of the 3 policemen who brutalized Ghanaian time journalists. This is a clear departure from previous incidents where such issues are raised and they are swept under the carpet. But now this is a positive sign. So I believe if this route is followed stringently, I believe to inspire hope that Ghana, yes, the rule of law is indeed working.
How confident are you that we can actually get our #1 spot in Africa back?
I think by, as the report indicated, the assassination of Ahmed yet to be dealt with satisfactorily. The CID boss indicated that a gentleman has been arrested and is assisting in investigations. We expect the police authorities to put more fire into the investigations to help unravel the circumstances, arrest the persecutors, perpetrators, and deal with them within the confines of the law.
All right, thank you very much. That's Afil Moni. Afil Moni is the president of Ghana Journalists Association. We're taking a break here on JoyNews Prime. Still ahead, that's Antahinio 2422. It's appealing for more support for the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology as he marks his 20th anniversary on the throne.
As in 1949, the dream of the Golden Stool became a reality when construction began with what was to be called the Kumasi College of Technology.
And in business industries, ask government to further review benchmark values of imported goods.
The spirit behind it is that where there is a possibility to encourage local production, go ahead and encourage it. Where there is a possibility to make things cheaper for your people, go ahead and do it.
Stay tuned in. We'll be back with business and more. That's Antiheo 242 has underscored the role of the golden stool in the growth of higher education in the Ashanti region. Recounting the contribution of his predecessors in establishing the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, he urged government and its partners to increase support to the institution. The Tumfor, who is Chancellor of the university, was speaking at the climax of week-long activities in his honor as part of his 20th anniversary.
And following the disturbances of 1948, the Watson Commission came up with this report that recommended the establishment of a University of Sciences in Kumasi. Thus, in 1949, the dream of the golden stool became a reality when construction began with what was to be called the Kumasi College of Technology. The enthusiasm of the golden stool in the establishment of the institution is seen in the fact that my brother and immediate predecessor, Otumfuo Opokuware II, then the future heir to the throne and a surveyor by profession at that time before he turned to a lawyer, took personal interest in designing the layout of the site on which KNUST stands today. These drawings are proudly displayed at the Menchia Museum for all to see.
The event offers various groups for the university community to acknowledge Otumfuo's role in Ghana's social and economic development.
I congratulate you, Your Majesty, for holding high the banner of Asanteman and Ghana all these years. Through your faithful and dedicated service, we ask for God's blessings, favor, and protection to you. Nana Nyankwada, Your Majesty, congratulations, Your Majesty. Gawa wishes you a joyous and fruitful celebration.
The deep intelligence and wisdom exhibited that has brought peace and harmony to KNUST.
Over the years, we have watched and seen with awe and admiration the great impact you have made with your unique style of leadership to transform chieftaincy within the sub-region. Your contribution to education, Otumfuo, and nation building through your peacemaking and building initiatives have been par excellence. We have also watched with great joy the call of some members of the Alumni Association.
The Asante also commissioned some new projects, including the Ghana University Senior Staff Sports Complex and Bus Terminal. Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
Health officials in the Upper West region want government to pay more attention to sufferers of haemophilia, a blood disorder so rare there are just about 350 sufferers in Ghana. Upper West Region Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Sey Kufuafre, in a speech read on his behalf at the celebration of World Haemophilia Day in Wa, expressed worry over the lack of laboratories to diagnose and monitor the treatment of persons living with the disease in the region. Rafiq Salam has more.
Haemophilia is a rare disorder in which a person's blood doesn't clot normally because it lacks sufficient blood clotting proteins. The disorder is so rare, just about 2,900 people in the whole of Ghana are estimated to be living with haemophilia. The number of people known and registered according to the Ghana Society of Haemophilia are, however, just about 350 people. The lack of awareness among sufferers is what informed the team for this year's World Haemophilia Day, outreach and identification. The Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, in a speech read on his behalf, expressed worry that health authorities had not paid enough attention to the genetic disease.
It is sad to note that some rather rare genetic diseases, such as bleeding disorders, have not attracted much attention from our health authorities. As a result of the less attention paid to these disorders, cases are often detected at a complicated stage, which often results in death of patients. A typical example of such bleeding disorders is haemophilia, which is a condition managed mostly at our tertiary hospitals.
Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Oseko Afra, in a speech read on his behalf, said the region deserves an adequately resourced facility to diagnose and monitor treatment of persons living with the disease. He also called on government and benevolent organizations to help people living with hemophilia and other bleeding disorders with factor replacement, which is particularly expensive.
People living with hemophilia and other bleeding disorders can only be helped by providing them with what they lack, that is a factor replacement, which is highly expensive. And the society depends mostly on donations from organizations and individuals outside the country. Our health facilities are not adequately resourced with appropriate laboratory equipment to diagnose and monitor the treatment of families with hemophilia. Nana Chairman, for your information, even the screening they are doing now, the machine they are doing was donated by a private person. If our hospital don't have.
Programs Manager Nana Ya Operabia Ajay says Ghana Hemophilia Society will continue with this campaign to make people more aware of the disorder.
And our target is reaching out the first step to care. Patient outreach and identification is about finding and supporting individuals with hemophilia or bleeding disorder, including von Willebrand disease, who have not yet been diagnosed or whose health needs are not being met by the healthcare services. These patients can be found through awareness creation, raising campaigns, and educational activities.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
It's a classic case of a person waiting to die. The story of how poverty has deprived a one-year-old baby the chance to get operated on as a tumor in the head continues to grow. Nancy Mefajardozi has the rest of the story.
According to reports by the World Poverty Clock, more than 2.8 million Ghanaians, representing about 10% of the population, are living in extreme poverty. The vast number are said to be living below the global poverty line. This means such people cannot afford to spend 10 Ghana cedis a day. That is the reality of life for 25-year-old Ruth Akagbo, who lives at Ewutu Breku in the central region. She is seated in front of her room, barefooted, with her one-year-old baby lying on her thigh. It is 3 p.m. and Ruth has barely eaten anything.
He gives me 7 Ghana cedis. The school takes 5 Ghana cedis for feeding my son. The remaining 2 cedis, I buy Milo and bread.
The whole day. Her husband, Francis, is a truck pusher and earns very little after a day's toil at the market. It is almost as if poverty is written on every crack in the walls of this house.
He's a porter and makes some money. He earns very little, so my mom sometimes takes care of me.
Ruth has managed to take her first son, Abraham, to school. During my interview with Ruth, little Abraham got home from school very hungry. All he could get was a mixture of garri and water without sugar.
What do you want to eat?
I want to eat rice.
What is even disturbing is that Ruth's one-year-old son has a growth in his head. which looks like the size of a tennis ball. But Ruth and the husband are so poor, they cannot take their little one to the hospital.
I don't have any money to take him to the hospital. I'm very disturbed. Nobody wants to handle him. They say it's a curse.
A few meters away from Ruth's house is a pharmacy. Its owner, Forsen, has been providing antibiotics to the little boy for free.
Okay, I was here when the mother brought the child, and when I checked it, it looked initially like an ordinary boil. So I recommended a medication they can use to take care of the swelling, but they couldn't afford it. So the mother said she was going and she'll be back later to come and buy the medication. About a day or two later, I decided to check on them because I didn't have any record of them coming back to buy the medication. So I went to their house, and when I checked, truthfully, they've not bought the medication. And when I checked, I realized that it was an issue of money. So I said, okay, let me give them the medicine for free and see what will happen. When I gave them the antibiotic, I noticed that the swelling had gone down a bit, but not to the level as I was expecting. So I said, no, this could not be an ordinary swelling. So I started questioning her more about how this issue came about. Then I noticed that in addition to not having money for the medication, there was also even difficulty in providing feeding for this child and other children she has.
After 9 months, most babies say few simple words like mama and dada. But Ruth's 1-year-old son doesn't appear to hear. He could not even respond to the snapping of my fingers. Though the Sustainable Development Goals are a bold commitment.
Happiness, we're bringing you the second dose of business, but later on we have the JoyNews editorial, which this week focuses on the floods which keep ravaging the country year after year and claiming lives whilst at it. Yes, happy Easter. My name is Israel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.